I saw Kraven the Hunter the other day, so let's talk about it. Probably don't need to say this, but spoilers ahead, so hit that like button, come back later. So while this movie isn't anything good per se, it is definitely a lot better than Madam Web. My favorite character in this film has to be Kraven. Even though I did have some mixed feelings over how I felt Kraven's character was portrayed in this movie, when comparing all the other characters in this movie, I feel like that Kraven's character was the closest to being portrayed right. Though, personally, I still don't know how I feel about Kraven wanting to protect animals instead of hunting them. I just feel like that goes against a lot of his character in the comics. So yeah, this isn't a bad movie, but it isn't a great movie either. This movie definitely is a lot better than Madam Web, though I think it's mainly better than Madam Web just from the comedy alone, because this movie did get a few good laughs out of me compared to Madam Web. The Madam Web movie could be funny at times unintentionally, but the Kraven movie does have a few good jokes that are meant to make you laugh. The writing could have been better, along with some of the line reading from the actors. There are just so many times where I feel like that this is the first time that some of these actors have even read some of these lines for this movie while they're in the middle of filming it. Some of the cinematography in this movie is pretty cool, but most of the time it's not really that impressive. I was a big fan of the action in this movie, and the rated R rating for this movie did help the action along this movie with how much you could see Kraven get away with unaliving some of these characters in some creative ways. The beginning portion of this movie felt like it was dragging on for a long while, and I only really felt like that the story to this movie started to pick up when Dimitri got kidnapped. The editing to this movie was also pretty weird too. There are times where you see a character in one specific location, but then it'll just cut to another scene where they're in an entirely different location all of a sudden. For example, when Kraven was trying to run and chase down Dimitri's kidnappers, they run him over and manage to get away from Kraven. But then just a couple of seconds later, they're suddenly on the docks and Kraven is right behind them. I do not understand how Kraven lost track of them. He was clearly right behind them. I actually kind of found the concept to the Rhino in this movie to be pretty cool, as the Rhino's powers comes from a disease. But the actor playing the Rhino, I don't know guys, this guy did not make me feel like that he was the Rhino. He just doesn't have the build for the Rhino's character in my opinion. Also, some of the CGI in this movie really could have been a lot better, mainly with some of the animals. My favorite moment in this film has to be the car chase scene. As I mentioned before, I feel like the moment where Dimitri got kidnapped was the moment where I really did start to get interested in the story of this movie. This scene was pretty fun to watch. I wasn't really sure if Dimitri was going to make it out of this scene alive, and I was having a pretty fun time just seeing Kraven chasing after these guys that took his brother. I give this film a 6 out of 10, giving it a D. Anyway, that's the review. Go down to the comments, tell me what you thought of Kraven the Hunter. Share this video with all your friends. And hit that like and follow button to keep up to date with all my latest content. See ya!